Okay. Under the Redux, we have main four point are important to understand. One point is called a store. Okay. So till now we have gone through the React. Under the React, every component we were using the state. It was using the class component also, and it was using the functional component also. In every component, we have used the state, and then state was holding the data, and according to need modification was happening, and it was reflecting in the page as well. Okay, state. Now Redux is like, suppose if you have such a requirement where you are holding the data in one component, you want to share that data to other component. Like suppose you have a user list, you are storing in one component. Now some other component want to access the same data. So what you have to do? You have to use the props. Props we have seen properties. Using the props, we have to share the value. Okay, fine. From one component to other component, we can share using the props. Now what will happen at the same time if you want to share with the multiple component? If one component we have a data, we want to share with the 10 component. How it will happen? That time one by one you have to use. At a time you cannot call the component everywhere. You cannot send the props to everywhere. Right? So at that point, Redux will say, you don't worry, I have a solution for that. And Redux is like, component will not store the data. Component will give me the data. I will keep under the store. So here a store sense is going to happen like, a store sense is going to happen like a store only in day-to-day life. How we talk about the store, we talk about the go down, we talk about the store room. Okay, similar way a store word is going to work. Similar way a store word is going to work here. In project, suppose we have as of now two component we have, book component as well as user component. Under the book you will have the book list of books. Under the user you will have list of books. Now both the data we want to share with this Redux file, that is called all data. This file will be responsible to get the data from book also, and this file can get the data from the user also. So how it will be possible at the same time? So here we will be using the concept of Redux. Redux is like book component. Whichever the data you have, you don't store within the component. Okay, you don't store the within the component. If you store within the component, your data will not go to this file, all data page. So what we have to do, we have to capture the input from user, and that input we have to give to the Redux. That input we have to give to the Redux. Now Redux, what it will do? Suppose you enter a book name. Those book name, we will click on send button. Now those book name will not store here. Those book name will go to the Redux. And once it will go to the Redux, where it will store? Look at here. There is a word called a store. A store says like a store holds the state. A store holds the state, that meaning called data of your application. A store holds the data of your application at a centralized place, and in which form? In the form of a state. In the Redux component also we have used the state. Everywhere we have used the state. Everywhere we have used the state. So now also we will store the data under the state only, but not within the component. The data will go to the state itself, but it will go under the store. And where will be the store? A store will be the part of Redux. Okay, just like this. Let me come here. Suppose here is one. This become your Redux. Outer part becomes a Redux. Under the Redux, there is called something called a store. And this is your component. This is one component. This is another component. This is one more component. Here is one more component. Okay, now let me guide you here. This component have a text box. This component have a text box. This component have a text box. Again, one more text box. This component have two text box. This component have only one text box. This component have two text box. Now, whenever the user will enter the value, click on save button. Let me write here call save. Here also call save. Save. Here also call save. Save, where is the save button? Save button, save button, save button. Now, whichever the data you fill here, you fill here, and you fill here. All this data will go to the reducer. Here is a word called reducer. Reducer. Now this reducer will send the data to directly where? Under the store. Here you have three input again. Now there will be one reducer. This reducer will also pass the data to state store. Here is also one reducer. This data will also go to the store. This data will also go to the store. So indirectly, you see in your project how many components? 4 components. In your component, now in your project, now suppose there is a 4 component. Now each component will have a reducer. Each component will have a reducer. Let me write here as a reducer. A reducer. Here is also one reducer. So these data are going to the store via reducer, not directly, via reducer. So we will enter the value under the JS file under the component. This is one component, this is another component, this is another component, this is another component. Multiple component you have. In each component, whichever the data you fill, your data will go to the reducer, reducer. Each component will have their own reducer, and this reducer will be dealing with the store directly. Now suppose all the component data gone to the store. Suppose 4 component you have. In 4 component, whatever the data you display, whatever the data you have stored, all the data gone to where? All the data gone to the store. Now there is one component. There is one component here. There is one component here. This component directly can request to a store to give the data. this component can directly request to store to give the all data. So this component no need to talk to any of the this all data component, no need to talk to the any of the component. Why? Because all the component not storing their data inside. All the component has sent the data to a store. That is a part of Redux. Now Redux has used the state here. Redux is using the state. Redux is using the state. We have used state earlier also. Now also you are going to use the state only, but this state will not be within the component. This state will be within the store. Within the store, your data will come and data will go to the state. It will go to the state, and this data will also come from where? It will come from the state. Finally, store your data anywhere and without passing through any property, without storing in the backend. Directly, your data will come to the store within the Redux. Now Redux is ready to give the data to any component. Your any component can call and ask the Redux store, please give me the data of the particular component. Give me the data of particular component. Now Redux is storing all the data. Any component can access it easily. Right? For that purpose, people use the Redux in the market so that data can share easily within the component. There should not be any kind of props related problem, or right. Online, sometime you have seen, you may fill the form. While filling the form, basic details fill, next. Contact details fill, next. Education details fill, next. After that, final professional details fill, next. Final page will come, verify your OTP and submit the data. That meaning you can consider this is the first page. This is the first page where you fill your basic details. After that, second page appear here. Second page. After that, the third page. And this is the fourth page. Fourth page. After, see, when you fill the first page, data gone to the store. When you fill the second page, data gone to a store. When you fill the data third page, data gone to a store. When you fill the fourth page, data gone to a store. Now finally, all data preview here. Preview, preview all data. Preview all data. Preview all data with edit option. Preview all data. One block is here. One more block is here. One more block is here. One more block is here. And there is everywhere edit option, edit option, edit option. Suppose you keep here edit here also. Edit here also. Edit here also. Edit here also. Finally, a button called submit. Final button called submit. Now, when you submit the data, all the data, whichever you have, all the data, give handover to API. Handover to API, and API can hand over to server. API can hand over to server. API can hand over this data to server. Right? So what we did here, Redux, what is helping the Redux? Redux is helping at this moment, like not to send all the data, single page data to server. Don't put the server in the trouble. Just keep collecting from the user and give to a store. Where? In the user computer only. Keep storing under the store. Once user has finished all the filling process, then finally show him, hi, this is your preview. If you want to modify anything, click on first, edit, click on second edit, click on third edit, click on force edit. Whichever the edit you click, go to the particular page, edit the data. Again, data will come from where? State it will come, because it was storing under the store of the Redux. It will come from there, you state it, again save, come to the next page. If everything is well, click on submit button. Finally, submit button you do, your data will go to where? API. Via API, it will hand over to the server. Right? This way also you can use the, which one? Redux. Then you will say, we have some other option also. Yes, there may be some other option also. Instead of using the Redux, we can use some other technique also. But Redux is an official library of JavaScript where it says like, instead of storing the data under the individual component, store the data one place where any component can access the data at any point. No need of the properties via props, no need to share the data. Multiple component data will go to one place. From one place, multiple component can access also, or multiple component can store also. But here problem will be, you cannot store directly data under the store. Every component need a reducer. Every component need a reducer. This reducer will be responsible to store the data under the store and fetch the data from a store, delete the data from a store, and update the data under the store. Who will be responsible? A reducer. Okay. Reducer will be responsible to do this, all the modifications. Right? After that, when you are sending the data, you have to use some other function. While fetching the data, you have to use some other function. You can see here, you are sending the your component data. These all are your component. Your component data you are sending to a store. And a store data you are bringing under the component. Both work we are doing. We are sending also, we are receiving also. So you can write here. But you can write it. You can write in this way. Dispatch. Dispatch. There is a word called dispatch. Dispatch means what? Sending the data to a store. Sending the data to a store. So you can see these components are sending the data to where? A store. These components are sending the data to a store. So when the component will send the data, it will be called a dispatch. What dispatch? Data to where? To the store. So from the component, when we send the data to a store, that is called a dispatch. Dispatching the data. Now another one. Use selector. SELECTOR. Use selector. This is called use dispatch. You can write here use dispatch. Use dispatch. Use dispatch. For what purpose? Sending the data. Use selector for fetching data from a store. For fetching data from a store. You can see here, a store is holding the data. When we want to send here, we have to use a dispatch. Dispatch. When you are fetching the data from a store, you have to use here called use selector. Use selector. Using use selector, we bring the data. Using dispatch, we send the data. Right? So a store meaning is what? A store meaning is centralized resource where you are going to keep the content of your all the component, the data of your all the component. That is called what? A store. Next, dispatch meaning is what? From the view file, from HTML JavaScript file, from the component file, when we send the data to a store, that is called a dispatch. Okay, when we send the data from the component to a store, that is called a dispatch. When we fetch the data from a store, that is called use selector. You are bringing the data from where? A store. Right? So one word is clear. Which one? Store. Store meaning a centralized place where we keep the data of all the component. Dispatch meaning is what? Sending the data. Use selector meaning is what? Bringing the data. Action meaning is what? Action meaning is what? Action meaning the type of request by user. The type of request by user. What user want? User want to add the data. User want to delete the data. User want to edit the data. That is called as action. Look at here. When I click on save button, that is called as action. When you click here save button, that is called as action. When you click on save button, that is called as action. When you click here again on save button, that is called as action. When you click here on edit button, that is called as action. When you click on delete button, that is also called as action. When you click on delete button, that is also called as action. When you click on submit button, that is also called as action. So what we have written, action is nothing but the type of request by user. What user want? User want to add the data. He will click on save button. It's called as action. User want to edit the data. He will click on edit button. That's called as action. User want to delete the data. He will click on delete button. That's called as action. Now when action will happen, look at here in the web page. User will come. User will come. User will come. User will see a button. User will come. User will see a form. Inside the form, he will fill the data and he will click on button. So this page is coming. This page is called a view. This page is coming. This page called a view. Inside that, suppose there is a hyperlink here. I will click on that. That is called a action. Or suppose this page is coming. The search box is here. I will enter something and I will click on search button. So when I click on search button, it becomes the action. But where I am clicking? Inside the view only. This entire page becomes a view. Under the view, I am clicking on search button. That is written here. User will come inside the view page. He will click on a button. That is called a action. After clicking on action, reducer will call. Look at the photo here. When you click on save button, when you click on this save button, or when you click on this save button, what will happen? All the data will go to where? Reducer. So user will come, user will see a form. In the form, there is a save button. User will click on that. That's called the action. After doing the action, reducer will call. The reducer will collect all the data. After collecting all the data, reducer will send to where? A store. Using which technique? Dispatch technique. Look at here. User will come. User will see the view. User will see the page. User will click on button after filling the form. Then this request will go to where? Reducer. Now reducer will pass your data to a store, and after passing the data to a store, again this data will display under the view. For example, if I come to this photo, user will come, user will fill the form, he will click on submit button, reducer will call, reducer will dispatch the action, reducer will dispatch the action means reducer will send the data to a store. Once the data will go to the store, data will get stored over there, and after that if you want, the same data you can display somewhere. Same data you can display somewhere. Same thing is explained here also. User will come, he will see the view, he will fill the form, he will click on submit button, he will click on delete button, he can click on edit button. After doing that, reducer will get called. Reducer will communicate with the store saying like, hi store, particular details user want to modify. What will happen? With the help of reducer, the record will get modified under the store, and after that, again it will reflect under the view, right? So this three main part is of your Redux, what you are going to implement. User click is called as action. A reducer will be responsible to talk to the store, and after that, a reducer will be responsible to modify the data under the store. Now come to day-to-day life. When you go to the shop, you will request, give me a Lux soap, or you will request, I want one particular thing. I want a biscuit. I want particular one. Now shopkeeper is responsible to go and bring and give you. Go to the medicine shop. You will ask them, yes, I want this particular tablet. The person who is there, he will go and he will look into the store. Where is the data? He will take one particular tablet and he will give you. After that, you will go from there. At the same time, the storekeeper will update in the system also, saying like, out of this particular paracetamol tablet, 30 was there, in that 3 is sold out. Now, who is that? As a user, you went to the shop. That is nothing but view. You made a action over there. You said, brother, give me one paracetamol. To whom? You have requested something. That is called a action. You have requested for a tablet. That is your action. Now, who will listen your request? That is called reducer, shopkeeper. Shopkeeper becomes a reducer who will listen your request. Shopkeeper will go, he will bring a tablet from the tray and he will give you, and at the same time he will create a bill, and after that what will happen? The item quantity will get reduced from the store. Right? A store is nothing but where the medicines are kept. Again, after that, user has come, he requested in the shop saying like, give me a tablet. Shopkeeper went, he bring a tablet given to the user. After that, a store got modified, and again remaining items are available under the store. Okay. Redux says the same concept. A user will come, he will come to your page, he will fill the form, he will click on submit button, or he will come to the page, he will click on product buy now button. Once he will click on buy now button, view is nothing but the page where product was listing. Action is nothing but user has clicked on buy now button or add to cart. Now this action will be given to reducer. Reducer will check in a store how many products are available. After that, from the store, the reducer will minus one and one product he will give you. So now in the store, remaining product will be available. Next customer will come. He will also request. Request is nothing but the action, and processing of the request is nothing but the reducer. So directly user cannot go to the medicine shop inside and take the medicine. He has to talk to the shopkeeper only. That is your reducer. Same photo I have designed here. A component cannot deal with the store directly. User will come, he will fill the form, click on submit button. Clicking on submit button is the action. After this entire process will hand over to reducer. A reducer will be responsible to take the data, and after that give to a store and update under the store saying like one item got increased. Next time user will come again, he will go to the listing page and he will click a delete button. He will say no, this item we don't want. Now again action will be fire. Action will be given to reducer. Reducer will go to the store. Reducer will delete one item and update the remaining item saying like out of 100 one is deleted. Now available is 99. Overall, a reducer is responsible to modify the data under the store, and view, your JavaScript file, component file, is responsible to collect the input from user, and the button click is called as action. Delete button click called as action. Edit button click as action. Right. So hope from this flow you have got some idea. Now inside that, here is some more concepts are written. Concept of Redux. It says like Redux holds the data under the store under the state. Action, what is that? It describes the changes in the state in the application. What happened? Intention, something. Just example was written. So it says like action is nothing but It is the type of request, what the user want, what he want, and according to he need, the state has to modify. Reducer ties the store and action together. Reducer is nothing but he will listen the action, what is the requirement, and he will go to the store. According to requirement, he will modify the data, he will delete the data, update the data. Is work like a shopkeeper. Who? Reducer work like a shopkeeper. Action is nothing but a user wanted to do something, user wanted to buy a cake, user want to buy a tablet, user want to buy a particular thing, that's becoming action. Now where is the data? Data is available under the store. So from the store only data has to come. Once the data will get sold out, reducer will modify over there. That's line are explained here. Core concept, what is that? You need to study it, read it. It's a complete main point that is of Redux. What is the store in Redux? That is also explained here. It is one store for entire application. As you saw here, in one project, there is a 4 component and only one store. All the data will go to the one store. In our page also you have seen, we have created multiple components, but a store is only one store that we have created yesterday. You can see here, we have only one store. Store.js file we created yesterday. It is here. Next, after that, what is the next line? Holds the application states. That meaning the store will be holding the data of your application in state format. Allow access the state via get state. Yes, using get state we can fetch the data. Allow state to update the via dispatch. Whenever you want to modify anything, you have to dispatch a action saying like reducer, please modify this. Register something is there. What is the action? Same thing what I have explained. It's written here in different line. Here, what is the reducer? What we discuss. Reducer is responsible to modify the data, update the data, delete the data from a store. Same thing. Okay, so you can have a look into that. Now next we have to implement it, how it is going to happen. Inside our component, you can see you have created yesterday. How many components we have? We have a component called book.js. Now to handle the book.js, we have created a file called book reducer. So the data of book component will be handled by book reducer. We have another component user. For that we have created a separate reducer called user reducer. User reducer will be handling the data of user component and book reducer will be handling the data of book component. After that, whether the data is coming from the book component or data is coming from the user component, no problem. There is a two reducer, book reducer as well as user reducer. Now book reducer and user reducer individually you cannot send under the store. So what we have done, we have made yesterday another component that is called main reducer. Main reducer is the combination of book reducer as well as user reducer. Book list and user list. Book list is nothing but your book reducer. User list is nothing but user reducer. Book list function, book reducer is responsible to maintain the data of book component. User reducer is responsible to maintain the data of user component. Hope is clear here. We have two component, user component and book component. For user component, we have a user reducer and for book component, we have a book reducer. Now both the component we combine together and we kept one place. Because the nature of both the component, both the reducer is same, both are going to work like a reducer. So we combine both together because individual reducer you cannot send to the store. A store will allow to send at a time only one reducer. And suppose inside the project we have multiple component, one reducer will not handle. Then the concept comes called as a combined reducer. If inside the project there is a 20 component, no problem, create 20 reducer, and after that all the reducer combine one place so that multiple reducer will get combined together and it will give a final reducer. That is called main reducer. Name you can give anything, no problem. Now this main reducer, what you have done, you can see here under the store file, the main reducer you have sent to where? Store. That meaning you created a store and under the store you sent the main reducer. Now under the main reducer, how many reducer is going indirectly? Two reducer. One is called book reducer, another one is called user reducer. Book reducer is responsible to maintain the book data. User reducer is responsible to maintain the user data. Both reducer are under the main reducer, and main reducer we send under the store. So indirectly under the store, how many reducers are there? Please reply in the chat. Indirectly under the store, how many reducer are there? Okay. In a store, how many reducer are now? Inside the store, how many reducer are now? Two reducer. Perfect. Two reducer. Yes. One reducer, book reducer is responsible to maintain the book data. User reducer is responsible to maintain the user data. Now let's go here. Now a store under the index.js file you given to home. A store is nothing but my store. My store we given to provider now. Now provider are overall kind of a manager. Okay, you have assume like you have multiple shops in Bangalore. Assume you have multiple shops in Bangalore. Okay, you have multiple medical shop in Bangalore. Now all the shops will have their own product. All the shop will have their own product, and inside all the shops will have their own salesman. Suppose in Marathali Apollo Pharmacy have their own product and salesman. Molecular Apollo Pharmacy have their own salesman and product. It is not necessary both the store will have the similar product. Apollo Pharmacy of Molecular have their own product. Apollo Pharmacy of Marathali have their own product. Apollo Marathali have their own salesman, and Apollo Marathali Molecular have their own salesman. Now if you go to the Apollo Marathali salesman will help you, and if you go to the Apollo Molecular salesman will help you, right? But both the shops are under the control of Apollo branch. Both the shops are under the control of whom? Apollo branch, right? Both the shops go down is only one place. Go down is only one place in Mysore. From there, the product will get supply in all the go downs, all the shops. Now each shop is maintaining their own product. Yes, how many I have? How many I sold out? So provider is nothing but you can consider as a whole and soul of the container, whole and soul of the, you can say your estate. Okay, not estate, you can say of your entire Redux, this what store we have created. Now what will happen? The provider will be watching for a store will be watching for the reducer will be watching for the component. So 4 level happen now. First you got the provider, main company, a store become the storage place, multiple component, reducer and component become their branches, and each component, each reducer is responsible to maintain the data in each component. So provider, you can say outer level layer, store becomes second layer, reducer become third layer, and component become a fourth layer. Something like this. If I come, let me go here. This become your provider. This become your store. This become a store, and this become a multiple reducers, reducers, and this become your component. Now let me show you one component, one reducer, another component, next reducer, next component, next reducer, this component, this reducer, one more component, this reducer, right? So this becomes a component. I will write here C for component, C1, C2, C3, C4, C5. So how many components? 5 component. R2, reducer 2, R1, reducer 1, R5, reducer 5, R3, reducer 3, R4, reducer 4. This becomes a provider. Store. Clear? Component will be handled by whom? Reducer. Where is the reducer? Reducer is under the store. Reducer is under the store. Store is under the provider, right? The reducer is maintaining which one? Component. Component is outside of the Redux. You can see component is out of the Redux, but the component is sending the data to reducer. Reducer is under the state store. All the components, right? Now after that, you saw here provider, how it is handling the data this way. If you want take photo, take photo. Upper section also is here. This is the minimum window size, and that one was the maximum window size. This is the total whole diagram. Hope ready? Go ahead now. Now we need to go to the book reducer. Sorry, book.js file. Import here component, not component, use state. Come down below, write a constant, book name, nickname, state, write a function, save. This is the component level work you are doing. Create a variable info. You will write here type, new book, name, colon book name. This becomes an object. You have to do here return. Return info. Now, whoever will call the save function, whenever we call the save function will return the a object where there will be two property. The first property will be called type. Second property will be called name. Type and name. Now, how it is going to work? Let us come here for the text box. You can write on change. On change equal to create an object of the function text box and write here call the pick name. Under the pick name we will pass here object.target.value. It is just we are passing the value of text box. If you want to clear that, simple we can call here value equal to name. It will clear the text box. And here before doing the return, you can call the pick name function, and under the pick name function you can pass as empty to clear the book name. To clear the book name. Just add till here. I hope written till here. Now let's come and call here import use dispatch. Use dispatch. For what purpose? We have to send the data from the view file. We have to send the data to reducer. Use it. Even we have fetch also. Use selector. Use selector. Call this both. Use selector. Use dispatch. Use dispatch will help you to send the data to the reducer. Use selector will help you to fetch the data from reducer. Copy wrote. Come down below. You have to write here a constant. Create an object of the use dispatch. Directly use dispatch we cannot use. Const dispatch. dispatch. Dispatch equal to use dispatch. Use dispatch. Now dispatch becomes a object of use dispatch. With the help of dispatch function, we can send the data to a reducer. Which reducer? Book reducer. How to send the data? Come here. You have a button. Use effect, if you remember how you used to write the use effect, same way we are going to call use dispatch also. On click equal to dispatch function we have to call. Under the dispatch function, we have to call this save function. Save function is going to return the info. That is nothing but one object. This object we have to send to the reducer. This info object we have to send to the reducer. So the reducer will take the name and type, and based on that reducer will do the process. So under the use dispatch, you are going to call the function called save function. Save function. Now save function will return a object. Save function dispa. Save function will return a dispatch. Save function will return a dispatch. Sorry, save function will return an object. Save function will return an object. That object will be dispatching to where? A reducer file. That object will be dispatching to where? A reducer file. Dispatch will help you to dispatch your action to reducer. Dispatch will help you to dispatch your action to reducer where? Under the store. Just write till here. Remaining again we'll see you tomorrow. Button code I will share you. It is simple, not very difficult. If you understand the flow, it is easy only. Meanwhile, today you try on internet, go to the YouTube, search Redux video, read that, see how the people have explained. Most of the time will not understand where is the start and where is the end. Okay, most of the time will not understand. Most of the video is like that. You will not get idea proper where is the start, where is the end. Okay, so call this function, and tomorrow 7 to 8 we have the Redux class, and 8 to 9:30 we'll have the project class. Again, day after tomorrow also we have 7 to 8 Redux class, and if anything pending, then on Sunday also. Mostly tomorrow project will get end, and your this one Redux will be continued tomorrow and day after tomorrow. Sunday will be most of your end of the Redux. mostly. Maybe 1 hour need to sit extra, we can sit and we can end it. Okay, so hope clear. This URL I have given you, hope you will spend some time on that. Take from here, this is already main points. From here also you can create a note your own and write few points about the Redux, about the store, about the action. Read from here, implement anyhow. Once you implement tomorrow, day after tomorrow, I'm sure you will get to know action, what is that, reducer, what is that, implementation wise. Okay. So tomorrow, 7 o'clock, we log in for the same Redux, and after that, from 8 o'clock, project people will log in. 7 to 8 will sit for the Redux, and after 8 will sit for the project plus.